Love. We are with Richard Dawkins, the author of Outgrowing God, A Beginner's Guide. I'll ask you the classic question about God, Richard, which is, we are here in this amazing universe. We can't even begin to understand the first thing about how we're created, and we can't create life ourselves, etc. And so we're led to the thought that a higher being has done it, in the same way that you can't have a watch without a watchmaker. So, what's your answer on that?
Well, the second half of Outgrowing God is all about that, the whole of the second half. It's about evolution. It's about the explanation of our existence and why we're the way we are and why we look designed. Undoubtedly, we look designed. And it's a very interesting thing. Darwin solved it, and his successors in the next century and a half have been building upon that. I wrote a book called The Blind Watchmaker, which was all about that, and indeed most of my books have been about that.
Why blind? Remind me.
Oh, well, because natural selection is blind. Natural selection is like a designer, but has no foresight, cannot see into the future.
So evolution is the, if you like, the scientific explanation of what other people say God has done.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly. And when you say we can't even begin to understand, we can begin, we have begun, we've more than begun. We haven't quite finished the job, but Darwin began it very successfully, and his successors in the 20th century, 21st century have made great progress. So we've more than begun to understand it.
So we are talking to Richard Dawkins. I venture to describe you as Britain's most famous atheist. Louise Thompson is in Birmingham. You are a Christian, Louise.
I am indeed,
What would you like to say to Richard?
Basically, God definitely does exist, 100,000%. Not that you can have that, but I've got a friend of mine who broke her foot and went to hospital, had it x-rayed. Yep, it's broken in many different places. Had a boot put on her foot, on her leg, all the way up to her knee. She came to church 2 days later. We prayed for her, and immediately the pain was gone. She was able to take the boot off. She was able to put weight on the foot. And her foot wasn't broken anymore. The next day she came to church and she didn't have her boot on. She wore shoes. She walked normally. Now, that doesn't happen normally. I've seen legs grow out.
Well, let's stay with this one foot, because this will be interesting. Richard,
well,
what do you think?
I wouldn't mind going on to the, you've seen legs grow out. Have you really seen legs grow out?
I have. Yes, I have, and I've got video footage of it as well.
Wait a minute, you've seen legs grow out? Somebody's leg had been amputated and it grew out?
No, so when somebody has a back problem, usually, when someone had a back problem, usually, if you put both legs up, one leg is slightly longer than the other. And when you pray for them, the leg grows out and the pain goes. Because usually a lot of the problems are caused by one leg being shorter than the other. But God can heal that and God can sort that out. And that's just one of the many miracles that I have seen in my time as a Christian. And that's not even going into the fact that God's done stuff for me. He's helped me overcome.
Are you familiar with the phrase anecdotal evidence? Scientists are notoriously mistrustful of anecdotal evidence.
And what's your definition of anecdotal evidence?
People telling stories of something that they happen to have witnessed.
But I've seen it with my own eyes.
I know you've seen it with your own eyes. That's why it's not reliable. We need proper scientific evidence, statistical evidence. There is no statistical evidence. Whenever people have looked for proper scientific evidence for miracles, it has never, ever been found.
So when that lady went back and had her foot x-rayed and suddenly the bones aren't broken, that's not scientific evidence? Because surely that's factual.
Well,
1 minute it's broken, 2 days later it's not broken. It takes more than 2 days for a bone in your foot to heal.
It does.
The doctors were astounded. They couldn't give an answer for that.
Louise, I think we would need to get the x-rays to Richard for him to see them.
Absolutely.
But Richard, let's say we did that. Okay, let's say we had a broken foot and then a mended foot, 2 days apart. And the only difference is that Louise prayed. Would you then become a Christian?
Well, there's a lot hidden in that let's say. It hasn't happened and it wouldn't happen. If it did happen, I would then want to look very carefully at the possibility of fraud.
Oh, Louise.
Fraud, you're funny. The problem
I'm not funny, I'm deadly serious.
No, the thing is that I think you'll find that a robber will not look for the police, and in the same way an atheist will not look for God, because it means they have to change. If I gave you a glass of clear liquid and told you it was water, unless you tried it, you would not know what it was. You can look at it. It could be anything. It could be flat lemonade, could be vodka,
and you believe
could be
Jesus
water,
turned it into wine?
And so what I'm going to say to you is, until you've tasted and you've tried it, you don't know what that is. So until you taste and experience God for yourself, you're never going to know that he's real. You can can walk in front of a motorway and say, I don't believe in lorries, but it doesn't change the fact that lorries still exist and you're still going to get run over by them.
Right. I don't think you're moving, Richard, but thank you. Louise, not convinced you there, Richard? No. Okay.
No.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you very much. Got to move on. Anne Haddo in the Isle of Skye, good afternoon.
Hi, Jeremy. Yeah.
Yeah, so you heard that. What would you like to say to Richard? Do you think he's right or wrong?
I think he's very wrong, because I think his mind's been blinded by Satan. Satan's closed his mind. He's trying to reach God through science. You can't reach God through science. You know, God said, if you search for me with all your heart, you'll find me. That's what his condition is. If you search for me with all your heart, you have to care about him. You have to care about him to find him. If you don't care about him, you don't want to find him.
Yeah,
you just want to find him. Yeah.
Okay, and let Richard answer.
I think that's absolutely true. You can't find God through science. If you follow science, you will not find God, and that pretty much sums up the problem.
So because he's not there, Anne, Richard says.
The thing is, he's searching for God, but he's going in the wrong way. Jesus said you have to be born again, and you need His Holy Spirit to enlighten you. The Holy Spirit comes to dwell within you. God's Holy Spirit will come to dwell within you and enlighten you.
Yeah, that's what you
the
believe.
things of God.
That's what you believe.
But what you've done is you've closed your mind to this.
I've closed my mind to that which there's no evidence.
You want to find God through your own intellect.
Okay, and thank you.
Thank you, I do.
Nikki Prince in Gaston, Norfolk says, Richard, you are entitled to your opinion, but I think you are upsetting lots of people. You're taking faith away from people. Nothing is going to shake my faith, even Richard Dawkins. I think it's appalling. The Gospel of St. Matthew is a lovely gospel. It's very spiritual and easy to read.
Well, yes, it's beautifully written in the English translation, I agree. The whole of the Bible is actually. I admire the style. It's great literature, but it isn't true. There's no evidence for it being true.
What about the evidence is that Nikki Prince believes it's true? Is that evidence?
Well, you're entitled to your beliefs, but not to your own facts, is a good saying.
Okay, John Panvier is in beautiful Newton Abbot, and John says, science is not always right. I feel sorry for Richard Dawkins. I believe in God. I pray for people. It works for me. A friend of mine was diagnosed with a tumour. I prayed for him and my prayer was answered. He now doesn't need treatment. Getting quite a lot of healings here.
Yes, well, I said in answer to a previous caller, anecdotal evidence is not convincing. Cancers do spontaneously go away. It's well known. Doctors know that very well. You need proper statistical scientific evidence. Anecdotes do not cut any ice.
If we were to start to do an audit of healers just in the UK in the last 10 years, let's say, Richard, do you not think we'd get some evidence of healing?
Well, you have to do proper double-blind trials. You have to have the evidence where neither the doctor nor the nurse nor anybody else knows the difference between the treatment and the control, and that's very difficult to do. Whenever it's been done, there has never ever been one single shred of evidence in favour of it.
Paul emails from the West Midlands, a very different message. After a tragic loss some years ago, Richard's words and his work helped me get through things. I didn't turn to God, quite the opposite. I threw myself into science. I now have an amazing outlook on life and a newfound interest in epigenetics, thanks to Richard Dawkins, and I will forever be grateful to him. Epigenetics, remind us?
Well, epigenetics is a much misused term. It actually means little more than development, embryonic development, but it has come to mean in recent years a kind of quasi-Lamarckism, a kind of inheritance of acquired characteristics, which it shouldn't ever have been used to mean. I don't think the caller, I'm delighted that she was helped by my writings, but I have never actually written about epigenetics, and I'm likely to do so.
So it's about things we carry from our parents that are not physical, is that right? Attitudes and so on?
No, not really. It's about, there's a certain amount of evidence, rather dubious evidence, that certain things that happen to you during your life can get transmitted to the next generation.
Oh, I see.
And the word epigenetics has come to be used for that.
Which is a bit shady.
But really, epigenetics is all about the way embryos develop normally. The reason why liver cells are different from kidney cells, are different from muscle cells, is epigenetic.
Okay.
But the word has come to be taken over by people who believe that gets transmitted into the next generation.
Right. Do you miss believing in God?
Do I?
Yes.
No. I'm delighted not to believe in God. I feel free. I feel liberated.
Would you pray in any circumstances?
No, never.
Not even in a plane crash?
Never, no.
Really? So how do you cry out for help if not through prayer?
Well, I would cry out to help for humans who can do something about it. I mean,
what if you were in a plane on your own?
Well, not much good crying out to the pilot saying, please stop us crashing. He's trying to do his best anyway.
Yeah, but most people say that there's no atheists when...
In Foxhill.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When the ship goes down or you're in a trench in the war.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think I would reach out for my loved ones and give them a hug.
Okay. It's lovely to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the calls. Richard Dawkins, his book is Outgrowing God. It's a fantastic read, fascinating, whatever your perspective. Radio 2.